Donna.
And today we're going to be picking up where we left off with Junie B, first grader at last, at chapter 4. And we'll be reading up to chapter 6.
I hope she has a better day today.
I hope she's having a better time in first grade. We'll see.
Her and Herb.
Her and Herb. All right, chapter 4, Clucks. We drew and drew in our journals. Mr. Scary waited until all of us were done. Then he walked around the room and he looked at everyone's pictures. He gave out shiny gold stars. First, he gave stars to Camille and to Chenille. "What great-looking dogs you drew, girls," he said. "Look at those floppy ears." Lucille raised her hand. "Look at mine, teacher," she said. "I drew a cat with pointy ears. See? My rich Nana has an expensive cat just like this. Its fur is a foot thick almost." Mrs. Scary looked strange at her. "Really, Lucille? A whole foot of fur?" he said. My. He gave her a gold star and moved on. He went to a boy named Roger. Roger was in the same class last year as me. "Excellent job, Roger," Mr. Scary said. "You drew a man wearing a coat." The words man and coat were both on the board, weren't they?
Overachiever.
I did a little frown, because none of those words were actually sounding familiar. After that, Mr. Scary walked to Sheldon and Shirley. "Cool bat and ball, Sheldon," he said. "And Shirley, you drew a bat and a ball too, didn't you?" I put my head on my desk. Something was very, very wrong here. Finally, Mr. Scary got to May. "Oh, May," he said, "what a special clock you drew. The big hands have 5 numbers. That's very unusual." "Yes," said May, "I created it myself. Plus, clock was the hardest word up there. I'm the only one who even knew the word clock, I bet."
She's very confident.
She is very confident. Just then, my stomach felt sickish inside. I quick closed my journal and I stuffed it back in my desk. Mr. Scary saw me. "Junie B," he said, "don't you want to show me your drawing? Don't you want a gold star for today?" I shook my head real fast. "Nope, no thank you. I don't know. I'm good. Not today. I really don't care for a gold star today, but thank you so much for asking." Mr. Scary just kept standing there. "The end," I said. He did not budge. "Please move along," I said. Finally, Mr. Scary bent down next to me. He lowered his voice so no one could hear. "I'm sorry, Junie B, but I'd really like to see what you drew," he said. "I need to make sure that you understood the assignment." Then, before I knew it, he took my journal out of my desk, and he gave it to me to hold.
It was nice that he whispered.
Yeah, you see,
It was very nice.
there she goes. He's
Yeah.
holding the book for her.
Yeah.
After that, he walked me into the hall, and he let me show him my drawing in private. And guess what? He liked it, I think. "Oh, wow, look at that, Junie B," he said. "You drew a wonderful picture of, he kept looking. A screaming chicken," I said finally. Mrs. Scary did a strange face. "Yes, right," he said. "It's a screaming chicken," I reminded him. I pointed at the chicken's mouth. "See how he's screaming? Cluck, cluck, cluck!" I used capital letters for the clucks. Capitals are for screaming, correct? "Well, yes, I suppose so," said Mr. Scary. "But the thing is, Junie B, the word cluck wasn't on the board today." "I know it," I said. "The word on the board was cluck, only I didn't read all the letters right, I guess, because accidentally I thought it was cluck." I tapped on my chin. "What I actually wanted to draw was the butt and bull," I said. "I really liked the sound of that one, but I didn't know how to get started exactly, so I went ahead with the cluck idea." Mr. Scary looked at me real confused. "The butt and bull?" he asked. I smiled, kind of embarrassed. "Well, yeah, I read those words wrong too, I guess. They turned out to be bat and ball." Mr. Scary frowned. He said, "What about the other words on the board, Junie B? Do you remember how you read some of the other ones? How about dog and cat, or coat and goat?" I thought back. Then I made my voice real quiet. "Dug and cot, and coot and ute," I said. Mr. Scary nodded his head. Then he patted my hand very nice, and he gave me back my journal, and we walked back into room 1.
I'm beginning to like Mr. Scary.
Yeah, Mr. Scary doesn't seem scary at all.
Yeah.
Chapter 5, Bug Bag. Dear First Grade Journal, Mr. Scary just called me in from recess. All the other children are still playing out there. He said for me to write in my journal for a minute and he will be with me soon. I keep peeking at him from behind these pages. He's printing sentences on the board. It is extra work for me, I think. I do not actually approve of this. From Junie B, first grader. Mr. Scary put down his chalk. You can stop peeking at me now, Junie B, he said. I looked at him real surprised because that guy has eyes in the back of his hair, apparently. He turned around and smiled. Do you see these 3 sentences that I just wrote up here, he asked. Yeah, I see them. See, she's looking. Excellent, said Mr. Scary. Could you stand up and try reading them from back there, please? Just then my heart all got kind of pumpy and pounding inside. Because I'm not good at reading from the board, that's why. I kept on sitting there. Please, said Mr. Scary. Just give it a try, okay? Finally I stood up and I squinted at the sentences. I read real slow. Bob is a bug bag, I read. I DDT frowned at the news. Really, I said, Bob is a bug bag? That's what you wrote? Mr. Scary pointed to sentence number 2. Try this one, he said. I squinted some more. I like my hog spit, I read again.
Some kooky sentences.
I looked at my teacher, very curious. These sentences are oddballs, aren't they? I said.
Kooky.
Mr. Scary pointed at the last one. Just one more to go, he said. This time I stretched my neck and I strained my eyes. Jack is going to, I scratched my eyes even smaller. To jail? I said. I did a gasp. Really? No fooling, Jack, who? Mr. Scary came back to my seat. He took my hand and walked me closer to the board. Could you try reading them again from here, Junie B, he said. I made my voice real whiny. But I don't want to read them again. Mr. Scary, please, I already know what they say. Just one more time.
Junie B's not liking reading right now.
And so finally, I did a deep breath. And I read the sentences all in a row. Bob is a big boy. I like my dog Spot. Jack is going to Jill's. I covered my mouth, very surprised. Hey, what do you know? He's going to Jill's,
Not
Mr. Scary.
jail. Not jail.
Whew, that's a relief, right? Mr. Scary laughed. Right, he said. After that, I headed to the door. Okie dokie, well, I guess I'll be getting back to recess now, I said. See ya. I waited for him to answer. He did not say see ya. I turned around. See ya, I said a little bit softer. And Mr. Scary just shook his head no. Because too bad for me. He had other plans. Mr. Scary took my hand. We walked out of room 1 and down the hall. You and I are going to go visit Mrs. Weller, Junie B. He said, you remember Mrs. Weller from last year, don't you? I shook my head no, because that name did not ring bells. Mostly, I would just like to remember recess, I said. Mr. Scary patted my shoulder. Well, Mrs. Weller is a lovely person, he said. Recess is a lovely person, too, I said. Well, Mrs. Weller is the school nurse, he said. I quick stopped walking. Because the school nurse is where you go when you were sick or tired, and I was totally fine. But I'm in good shape, I said. You see, I don't even need a Band-Aid. Mr. Scary smiled. He pulled me along again. Of course you're in good shape, Junie B, he said. But Mrs. Weller does lots of nice things besides give out Band-Aids. Just then, we walked into Mrs. Weller's office. And guess what? I remembered perfectly well who she was. I just never knew she had a name before. Why, Junie B. Jones, she said, what a nice surprise it is to see you again. It's a surprise to see you too, I said, because I'm not even sick or tired. Plus, also, I'm supposed to be on the playground right now, and I would rather get back to that. Mrs. Weller laughed out loud, only I don't know actually why. After that, she and Mr. Scary whispered real quiet to each other. Then finally, Mr. Scary patted my shoulder. I'm going to leave you with Mrs. Weller for a while, Junie B, he said. The two of you are going to go play a game with her eye chart, okay? All of a sudden, my stomach felt kind of jumpy because playing a game with the nurse did not sound fun. No, I said in my head, not okay. Mr. Scary waved. See ya, he said. I watched him go, and I did not say see ya back. Chapter 6, the E game. I sat in a chair next to Mrs. Weller's desk. She asked me lots of questions. First, she asked me how I liked my summer vacation. Then she asked me how I liked first grade. Then how I liked Mr. Scary. That is called stall talk,
I was
I
gonna say,
believe.
that's a lot of questions.
That's a lot of
That's
questions.
a lot of questions.
Finally, Mrs. Weller stood up. Have you noticed the eye charts I have hanging on my wall, Junie B? She asked. She pointed at them. Eye charts are posters that help us test our eyesight, she explained. I have 2 different kinds, see? One has alphabet letters on it. And then one right next to it is filled with funny E's. This one is called the E chart. I looked at that funny thing. You can see right here, there's our E chart. You see, it's E's in all different directions. See?
I see that.
Whoa, I said. Those are the craziest E's I ever saw. They are backwards and forwards and upside down. You're right, said Mrs. Weller. The E's are all mixed up, aren't they? And today, you and I are going to play a game with those mixed up E's. It's called the E game. After that, Mrs. Weller got a little paper cup. Then she showed me how to hold it over one of my eyes. We're going to be testing each of your eyes separately, she said. While one eye is hiding under the cup, the other eye will play the game, okay? I shrugged my shoulders, because what choice did I have? Mrs. Weller showed me where to stand to play the game. Then she went back to the E chart. All right, she said. Now each time I point to one of the E's, I want you to tell me the direction it's facing. Are you ready, Junie B? I shrugged again. Then I had one eye behind the cup, and Mrs. Weller pointed to the first E. I pointed my finger up. That one is facing up at the ceiling, I told her. Good, she said, excellent. I felt a little better inside. Mrs. Weller pointed to the next E. And you see, this is her taking her little test. So she's got the E chart,
Yeah.
she's got her finger, she's got the cup. Hope she aces it.
Me too.
I turned my finger down at the floor. That one is facing down, I said. Mrs. Weller smiled and nodded. I stood up taller, because this wasn't as hard as I thought. After that, the nurse kept on pointing to more E's, and I kept on telling her which way they were facing. Right, left, down, left, up. I stopped and grinned. Hey, what do you know? I'm a breeze at this game, right, Mrs. Weller? Right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I said. Mrs. Weller winked at me. We're almost done, she said. Only a few more E's to go. She pointed to a new row. There was a fuzzy smudgy next to her finger. Whoops, I said. What happened there? Did someone spill something on your chart? Mrs. Weller did a little frown. She kept pointing at that smudgy. Can you tell me anything about this mark at all, Junie B? She asked. Yes, I said. It's a smear ball. Mrs. Weller moved her finger over a little bit. What about this mark here? Can you tell me anything about that one? I stared and stared at that thing. That one's a toughie, I said. Finally, Mrs. Weller came over to me. That's fine, she said. You did just fine, Junie B. After that, we played the same game with my other eye. And guess what? I saw 3 more smudgies and a smeary. After I was done, I sat down in the chair again. Mrs. Weller said I needed glasses. I don't like Mrs. Weller. All right, so that's the end of chapter 6. So we'll pick up the rest of this book in our next installments.
So it sounds like Junie B's going to get glasses in
Junie
first
B
grade.
is going to get glasses in first grade. So did I get
I
glasses
was going
in
to say,
first grade?
what grade were you in when you got glasses?
First, yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. All right, so from all of us here at Boys and Girls Clubs, I hope you stay healthy. I hope you're having fun at home, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.